Good morning, YouTubers. Welcome to Secret London with me, Mark Monroe. Today we're starting off at Tower Hill. Behind me, Tower Bridge. I'm sure you've seen many photos of that bridge before, but it's not about the bridge today. We're going into the city to a place called Eastcheap, and I'm going to be showing you London's smallest public statue. Let's go. I've arrived in Eastcheap, which is this street in front of me. Coming down to Eastcheap is a little lane called Philpott Lane. It stretches back up to Fenchurch Street, and it's the building on the corner of Eastcheap and Philpott Lane we're going to be taking a look at. On the Philpott Lane exterior of the building, if you look up about 18 feet, you're going to see a sculpture of two small mice wrestling over a piece of cheese. The question is, what's it doing there, and how did it get there? The building these two little rodents reside on is number 23 Eastcheap. It was constructed and finished in 1862 by a company called Piper and Wheeler. It was then used for spice merchants to bring their bounty up from the Thames and to trade in. There are a lot of different stories as to why those two warring mice are on the side of that building. Was it an architect with a love of animals, a love of rodents, an architect with a love of cheese? Well, we're not quite sure, but the story that has been doing the rounds for many a decade goes a bit like this, and it's a tragic one. Just around the corner from those two little rodents stands the monument, designed and constructed between 1671 and 1677 by Sir Christopher Wren. And that's where our tragic tale begins. The monument stands 202 foot high. During the end of its construction, reportedly, two workmen were sitting at the top of the monument and just about to tuck into their lunch, when one of them noticed that some of his sandwich had been missing. Someone had been eating it. He turned immediately to his colleague and pointed the finger of blame at him, saying he was the only other person at the top of the monument. Who else could have stolen his lunch? Before you knew it, a fight ensued. Punches were being traded. Not a good place to be having a fight on top of a 202-foot monument. The scaffolding they were trading punches on was not enough to hold their weight and collapsed, and the two men fell 202 foot to the floor and tragically died. The bodies of the two men were discovered by their workmates at the bottom of the memorial. And they just couldn't figure out what had happened until they got to the top of the monument to take a look. They saw that the scaffold had collapsed and they realized there must have been a fight. But then they noticed mice. Mice everywhere.
And so it was decreed that a memorial illustrating the tragic death of these workmen be illustrated by two mice fighting over a piece of cheese.
It was therefore concluded that the workman's colleague was not the perpetrator of this heinous crime. The perpetrators of this crime were the mice. If you think this legend has more holes in it than the cheese those mice were eating, well, I think you're right. Number one, who knows what went on top of that monument? Number two, how do we know what they were eating? And number three, what were all those mice doing 202 feet up in the air? And so, it remains a mystery as to why those two mice, nibbling away at that piece of cheese, ended up on the side of 23 Eastcheap. And I guess that's what Secret London is all about. Some things in London will always remain a secret. I do have to point out, however, that the finger of blame as far as this legend is concerned has been pointed at the London taxi driver. Well, I must admit that we do sometimes have to make our tours of London a little bit more interesting. Thanks for watching today's episode of Secret London with me, Mark Monroe. If you enjoyed it today, leave some comments down below, the good, the bad and the ugly. I read them all. If you really enjoyed it, subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Until next time, stay tuned.